Good morning, friends. We're about to get the magic sunrise. I know I say that a lot, but it really is a really unique part of the day where it seems like anything is possible because everything is changing. Everything that was dark is becoming light. Not just the sky, but then everything underneath it, lights up too. So anyway, just musings. I had a conversation this week with a new friend who was talking about how to understand Scripture, and had some ideas that he had picked up from various places about how Christians understood Scripture and what you sort of had to believe from it in order to be in the club. So we were having that conversation a little bit, and some of what came up that just, I think, kind of put off some light bulbs was that this is a 6,000-year-old book in some of the scriptures cases. Some of the scriptures are more recent than that, but even the most recent ones are nearly 2,000 years old. And if you think about just as we read and reinterpret laws, right, that were made at the most 200 years ago, 150 years ago, at the least, 50 years ago, and we read and reinterpret and argue and explain and understand anew in light of cultural context. If that's true about something that's as young as 50 or 100 years, how much more so is it for something that's 2,000 to 6,000 years old? So even without taking some of the spiritual implications, just thinking in general about how we read old books, we have to understand the context. The cultural context, yes. Also the context within the larger book. Also the intention with which these pieces were written. Some of them were intended to be poetry. Some of them were intended to be letters. And when we write things like poetry and letters, we write them with different intention than we write texts and historical documents and legal documents, right? So highlighting that, but also highlighting the shifts in, major shifts in cultural context and how we understand who people are, and wondering about how to live in a world while being faithful to the tenets and the ideas that are captured in these ancient books, while also living and functioning in this world too, because all of us are making choices. All of us are making choices about the systems that we participate in. We're not making a choice about the world that we live in, and that limits some of our options sometimes. You can make yourself crazy trying to be perfect in your environmental impact, in your justice impact, in your on and on and on. And we're all making choices, and it's the same when we read old books, when we read Scripture, when we think through what do these things mean. The one thing I would say that feels inarguable, that's stated over and over, is that the premise of this God character, whom Jesus was attempting to express, is love. So if you're not sure how to understand something, read it through the lens of love. What feels loving? And each of us is a child of God and gifted with the spirit of interpretation within us. So trust yourself to know what love looks like in your world, in your context, in your understanding. Yeah, that's the big one. Love each other. Love well. May you both receive and give love well today. Find a way to love your world. Find a way to love your people. Find a way to be love. Grace and peace.